Good afternoon. What's going on, everybody? It's great to have you with me. Skull for Days returns because we are just a couple days away from free agency. The legal tampering period. I've never heard of something more preposterous because the NFL knows tampering happens regardless of whether it's legal or not. So they just decided, you know what? We'll just make this period a couple days ahead of time and we're going to call it the legal period where you can tamper, as if agents aren't talking to teams down at the combine about active players in the NFL anyway. It's rather hilarious. But is this the last time that we go live with Kirk Cousins as a member of the Minnesota Vikings? I don't know. We'll see. How about Harrison Smith? How about Danielle Hunter? How about KJ Osborne? Okay, yeah, KJ doesn't quite go into that same category, but at the end of the day, this is the thing about this time of the year. At some point, remember the name on the front of the jersey is more important than the one on the back. We all have our favorite players. We all want to see them retire as Vikings so that they can say he spent his entire career with one team, the Minnesota Vikings. He gave his all and all this stuff. And that's all well and good to the extent possible. But sometimes it's just not possible. This time last year, remember everybody crying over Adam Thielen and Eric Kendricks being cut? How could you do that to those longtime veterans that gave everything they had, especially Adam Thielen? And again, I know Adam Thielen, hometown hero. He'll be down in Minnesota folklore with people like Kevin McHale and Lindsey Whalen and Joe Mauer. I understand that. But honestly, it just is what it is. And at the end of the day, it's to win a championship for the team, not necessarily who your favorite players are. And we'll all have our different opinions about what's the best move for the team. Is it better to do short-term moves because we're this close, or is it better to take a step back and, maybe not always push all of our chips in right away every year? We'll see. We'll see. But it's been a minute since I've been on the mic. So I got to say hello to the guys and gals in the house. We got one of the queens. We got Sarah in the building right off the get-go. What's going on, Sarah? Good to see you. Thank you so kindly for joining. We got my guy Luff from Vikings First and SKOL. By the way, if you don't already subscribe to Vikings First and SKOL, both on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast aggregator, do that for me. But tomorrow, I will be joining Luft on Two Old Bloggers over on the Vikings First and SKOL page because Darren's doing some traveling. So he put out the bat signal and said, hey, you do anything? Hey, I'm always good to sit in with you, especially on the Two Old Bloggers side. So most everybody here that is subscribed to me is already subscribed to Vikings First and SKOL. But if you don't, get on over there, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and see me and Dave talk some free agents tomorrow. I'll talk a few free agents here today, but I won't give away all my source material. Thank you kindly, Dave, for joining. We got Angel in the building. What's going on, Angel? Good to see you. Thank you kindly. Raymond, what's going on? Good to see you. What's going on, man? Still love that jersey as your avatar. Good old number 44, Chuck Foreman. There you go. We got my guy, Mateo. What's going on? I hope so, but I'm sad about the Hunter chance. I will admit my LSU bias and the fact he gave me a free signed jersey, but I want to keep Hunter in the Vikings for his whole career. Yeah, I'll touch on those guys. Definitely. Definitely going to touch on them. And by the way, let's hit the reset button for the first time of many. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button. And if you don't already subscribe, hit that subscribe button for me as well. Y'all going to have to let me know if this thing is lagging because I rebooted the router, restarted the computer because it's been a while since I'm on live, right? And everything's just a titch slow on my side. So I apologize if that comes through for you, but we'll have some fun. Yeah, as far as Harrison Smith goes, it's kind of one of those. At the end of the season, I had said right then and there that was probably going to be his last game with the Vikings. But, if he's amenable to taking a pay cut, and let me be clear, I'm not saying he's obligated to. No player is obligated to take less money. None. But if you want to stay on the team, okay. We'll talk about a little bit about what he did last year and what's it going to take for it to be something similar to this year. But yeah, I think they should keep Danielle Hunter. Spoiler alert. That's what we'll talk about a little bit later. But shout out, Mateo. Good to see you. Northfia's in the house. What's going on, Northfia's? Good to see you. Thank you kindly for joining me. Appreciate it. If you guys could hit that share button, tweet it out or X it out or Facebook it out or anything you can do to hit that share button because this is not my normal time and this was kind of impromptu. So, we got to let people know, hey, I'm actually doing something today. All right, a lot of hellos. There's my guy, SKOL Mafia in the house. What's going on, Purple Gang? Good to see you, Mafia. Good to see you. Chances of snagging Byron Murphy too? I would love to see Byron Murphy II. The other Byron, we used to always have a lot of Dalvins on our team when we had Dalvin Cook and Dalvin Tomlinson. I'd be okay with Byron Murphy. What are the chances? It depends. If they make a trade up to get a quarterback and they have to give up that second round pick, then there's no chance because he's going to be around where they would be picking either at 11 or at 42. But if they use those picks to get up to the top three, the top five, whatever it takes to get a quarterback, then I don't see the likelihood, but I'd love to see it. I'll say that right off the bat. I'd absolutely love to see it. All right, Sarah's already off and running. What's Sarah got? Remember how all these stands wanted to bring Kirk back? Now that Kirk has betrayed them, they're upset and happy we're drafting a rookie, but do they deserve to cheer for the new rookie? Well, that's why I love having Sarah here. She holds nothing back. Tweet what? Tweet a link to the show. Tweet a link to the show. Get some people in the building. Thank you, Mafia. I appreciate you. I see you. The Kirk stands would be served right because when Kirk Cousins went down and the Vikings quarterback play dropped, it was, oh, see what it is without life without Kirk Cousins. Oh, this is what you guys wanted. I hope you guys are happy. Saying, oh, be careful what you wish for. Well, if you're going to go down that road, I'm not going to tell people they can't cheer because you cheer for your team, but there is a sense of irony that if we did draft a rookie quarterback and he came in and played relatively well, as good, or dare I say, even better than Kirk Cousins, oh, hey, yeah. You didn't want that guy. You wanted us to go back to the same old guy, Kirk Cousins, again and again and again. Appreciate you, Luft. Appreciate you, Mafia. Vikings fan 123, shout out to you. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. All right, time to kill the music. Yes, there you go, Dave. Love to see you. We can call the Minnesota law firms Murphy and Murphy and Sweat and Sweat. There you go. I wouldn't mind it either because we need a lot of help. We absolutely need a lot of help. All right, time to kill the music. Now that we got the initial hellos done here, you guys all know how we do this. First of all, we got to move this. Oh, did I mess it up again? I probably did. That's all right. That's all right. It's been a minute, but after shouting you guys out, we got to do some shouts to a group of individuals, brave men and women. We start out, of course, by shouting out the active and veteran members of our armed forces for fighting for our freedoms, both in the past and ongoing. Shout out to their family members who have to sacrifice time away from their loved ones so that we can be the open and free country that we are. Thank you so very, very kindly. Shout out to the brave men and women who serve as our law enforcement, our firefighters, and EMS, who in times of tragedy are the ones running towards the danger to help the rest of us simply get away from it. You potentially put your lives on the line every day when you go to work. So we say thank you so very, very much for all that you do. And finally, to the doctors, nurses, frontline workers, surgeons, home health care providers, et al., for taking care of us when we have medical needs. Your Super Bowl is going home saying, today, I saved a life. I shout out these brave men and women at the start of my show, or relatively close to the start of my show, to just simply say thank you, because as a society, at times, we don't say thank you enough to them. So I'm going to shout them out at the beginning of the show. Reset number 2, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and put it in the comments. What are you guys thinking about this, that, and the third? Whether it's Kirk Cousins, whether it's Danielle Hunter, Harrison Smith, who do you want the Vikings to sign? Again, I'm going to touch on free agency today, but I'm going to save most of the source material for tomorrow when I go on with Dave from Minnesota Sports. That's the second time I've done that. Dave from Vikings First and SKOL. My bad, Luft. My bad. And what's funny about it is right now, the Tuesday night show Under the Lights with me and Dave is on hiatus, whether that's for a while for the off season or indefinitely. Don't know. His schedule and my schedule haven't lined up very well the last couple of weeks. I've been really, really busy at work and I've had some personal things going on in my life that I've had to take priority over doing content. But now that the time is here, it's time to go full bore. And honestly, I can do some speculation, but I feel like I'd be doing the same shows over and over again about, well, what's going on here. And we'll touch on that here today. But yeah, it's time, ladies and gentlemen. It is finally time. We got one or two more in the building. What's going on? Two-Tone Tony in the building. What's going on? Good to see you. Thank you so kindly for joining me. Mateo says, Hunter is the only one I want back. Sorry, Hitman, but you've been placed. Yeah. Let's start with Hitman and let's start with Danielle Hunter. We're going to start with Cousins, play the hits, but let's get warmed up a little bit. But before that, I like this one, Sarah. Just need to make it through 48 more hours. I'm scared we'll get a notification at the 11-hour. Oh, don't say it, Sarah. No, don't say it. Please. Please don't say that. All right. So it goes a little something like this. The first domino to fall, well, the first two dominoes in whatever order you want to put them in is Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. We already know that. I'm going to get the Justin Jefferson one out of the way. Justin Jefferson is going to be re-signed, and there should be no more discussion about it. Kwesi himself said, yeah, it's never crossed my mind to entertain any of these bologna sandwich trade offers. Justin Jefferson will get signed. Whether it's fully guaranteed or not, whether it's guaranteed past season 1 or season 2, it's going to go something like 4 years, $128 million, somewhere in there, maybe 4 years, 140. I don't know, and I don't care. It's fine. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Whether Kirk Cousins is brought back or not, I know the stands will say, well, is Justin Jefferson not going to sign back here if Kirk Cousins can come back? Yeah, he is. He is. Well, you saw what happened with Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall. Yeah, when Justin Jefferson was out there, when he wasn't getting decapitated, he still put up yards. So Justin Jefferson's going to get done. So let's not talk anymore about it. Harrison Smith. This time last year, Harrison Smith took a massive pay cut to stay with the team. Had he not taken a pay cut, he would have been cut, and there would have been a dead cap hit of $12 million, which is, well, $3.9 million for each of the last 3 seasons that he had left under contract. We're just going to round up and call it 12. So he took about an $8.5 million pay cut so that his salary cap hit of $12 million last year was the same as what it would have been had the Vikings cut him. In order for the Vikings to do that again this year, he's going to have to take like a $10, $11 million pay cut. Ooh, that's steep. But he would still be getting around $4 million. They would probably do it again, where they give him a 4-year guarantee and then throw some incentives in there, that sort of thing. And I think one way or the other, that's what's going to happen. Either they're going to cut him, take an $8 million dead cap hit, save $11 million against the cap, or Harrison Smith will take about an $11 million pay cut and save the Vikings $11 million against the cap. I do not see Harrison Smith coming back under his current deal. I don't even think Harrison Smith thinks that that's even remotely possible. Now, if they cut Harrison Smith and designate him a post-June 1st cut, that $8 million can be split up into 4 on the 24 cap and 4 on the 25 cap. To me, if you are going to move on from Harrison Smith, do what you did with Adam Thielen and just take the entire dead cap hit on the 24 salary cap so that you have the extra $4 million next year. Pay off your debts. I've been saying that ad nauseum, regardless, for the last year and a half, about cleaning up your salary cap mess. And what's funny is that, hey, well, we can cut this and we can have up to $70 million if we restructure O'Neal and we don't resign Hunter, if we resign Hunter back. Pay off your debts. Don't let that money become a burning sensation in your pocket. Oh, this money is burning a hole in my pocket right now because we got all kinds of money to spend. Here's an idea. Spend wisely. I'm not saying don't sign any free agents. I'm not saying that you don't finally dabble and you're finally not just shopping in, as my guy Rhino from Vikings Uncensored would say, the Walmart clearance shopping bin. Yes, you have the ability to actually be players in free agency for the first time in a while and not taking chances on guys like Marcus Davenport, hoping that he's a high risk, high upside guy. No, you have the potential to actually get into the real free agent market. So if you bring Harrison Smith back, I'm okay with it, assuming he takes a pay cut, of course. But to me, I'm also okay with moving on from him because you got Bynum, you got Metellus, and dare I say, maybe you find something in Lewisine. I'm not holding my breath on the Lewisine part. That's for daggone sure. But I will say this. Harrison Smith is expendable at this point. So for the nostalgia, I'm not much for nostalgia. I'm really not. As I would say on the channel, it's time to put the sacred cows to pasture. That's one thing Rick Spielman didn't do. Now, was that at the behest of the Wilfs saying, no, we have to stay competitive and give these guys what they want and the salary cap implications down the road be darned? I don't know. I wasn't in those conversations. Starting to look that way because Kwesi is finally saying, hey, yeah, we're not keeping these guys at their market value. We have a number in mind. And if they want to meet that number, we'll keep them. And if they don't, we wish them all the best. And as much as I hate saying that about Harrison Smith, who absolutely will be in the Vikings Ring of Honor, who absolutely should be in the NFL Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't know that he is, simply because, well, we all know about how difficult it is for Minnesota Vikings legends to get into the Hall of Fame. See Jim Marshall, for example. But I digress. Harrison Smith, to me, is the third best safety that the Vikings have ever had. Paul Krause is number 1 for me. Joe Browner, number 2. Harrison Smith, number 3. If you want to put Harrison Smith slightly above Joey Browner, I'm not going to fight you tooth and nail, but as somebody who saw both of those guys play, I would give a slight edge to Joey Browner. Of course, he did play in a different era where he could tackle guys with a horse collar with one arm as they were running 17 miles an hour down the field and accidentally injure them. He wasn't doing it on purpose, but man alive, could that guy tackle. Man alive, was that guy ridiculous. Anyway, I will say this. I hope that the Vikings do what they can to bring him back at their price. I hope Harrison Smith is amenable to it because I'd love to see him play one more year with the Vikings. But if he doesn't, good luck to you, bro. And after you retire, day one, week one after you retire, opening weekend, you have that Ring of Honor ceremony for Harrison Smith. It's as simple as that. Danielle Hunter, I want him back. I want Danielle Hunter back on this team. We need to rebuild the trenches, particularly on the defensive side of the football. Holy cow. What do we have? Harrison Phillips is a nice rotational piece, but he's not a difference maker. He's a jag. He's just a guy. Yes, if you had him opposite a big fat guy in the middle, can he be serviceable? Yes. Can he be a difference maker? No, not really. Yes, I know. Hey, Justin, remember in Buffalo when Kirk Cousins didn't quite get in and all of a sudden there was a fumble by Josh Allen and Eric Kendrick scored the touchdown to get us back into that game? Holy cow. Yeah, I remember. And that's a great play. But by and large, he's not that much of a difference maker. Again, I'm not poo-pooing the guy. I'm not. What I am saying, though, is he's just a guy. So you need something. You need something on that defensive line. And if you don't bring Kirk Cousins back, and if you do end up either reducing Harrison Smith's salary or cutting him, you can bring Danielle Hunter back. I will be very, very, very disappointed if we don't bring Danielle Hunter back for two reasons. One, because I still think, even though he's about to turn 30, I still think he has 3 to 4 years of prime production left. Maybe 2 years of prime and 1 year of, okay, just a guy. That's a guy you bring back. Now, that doesn't mean I'm willing to give him $28 million a year. You know, I'd like to get him for about 23. He's probably looking for about 26. See if we can find a way to finagle those numbers to make it amenable for both sides of the house. But yes, Danielle Hunter should be priority number one. Again, Justin Jefferson is a given. So for everyone who says, well, what about Justin Jefferson? He's a given. So outside of JJ, Danielle Hunter should be priority number one. Then you need to dabble in free agency and get a couple of big fat guys in the middle. We'll talk about a handful of those guys here and there. The obvious guy from Miami who played with Brian Flores. I already forgot the guy's name, so forgive me. Got it here somewhere. I put it here somewhere. I'll find it later. You guys, what's that tackle from Miami that played with Flores that's a free agent who wasn't tagged? Somebody put it in the chat for me if you could, please. But having said that, yes, you absolutely prioritize Danielle Hunter. The second reason I'll be upset if Danielle Hunter is not brought back, Wilkins. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Wilkins. Yes. The second reason I'll be mad is because you had an opportunity to trade Danielle Hunter at the trade deadline last year and you didn't take advantage of it. I saw a report that Danielle Hunter begged Kwesi not to trade him. Okay. All right. Let's talk about that for a second. If you're coming to me after your quarterback went down, and anybody who had any forward thinking knew the Viking season was done at that point and you should have traded off any pending free agents and got something you could for him. If Danielle Hunter says, I really don't want you to trade me, then you work out a deal with him and his agent and get him locked up. You don't leave yourself open to the possibility that now you're going to lose Danielle Hunter for nothing. And I don't want to hear about compensatory picks. People put way too much stock in these comp picks. How many compensatory picks did the Vikings get this year? Put it in the chat. Oh, wait, spoiler alert. None. Why? Because the guys they lost that got re-signed elsewhere didn't produce enough to meet the threshold for the Vikings to get a comp pick. Comp picks are roll of the dice. First off, the highest comp pick you can get is a third round pick. Second, it's a year removed from when you lost that player. So maybe we could have gotten a second round pick, maybe even a low round first for Danielle Hunter in the 24 draft, not what we might get. Not what we might get in 2025. So at the end of the day, for me, I'm really going to be upset that if Danielle Hunter walks and we got nothing for him except the possibility of a comp pick down the road, yeah, that's bad management. And I said it at the time. When Kirk Cousins went down, I said, trade all your pending free agents. That's not tanking. That's realizing that this season isn't worth pushing all of your chips in. This season, as we found, what did the Vikings do after Kirk went down? They went 3-6 in those 9 games. And without Danielle Hunter, well, if we had traded Danielle Hunter, our season would have been terrible post Kirk Cousins. It was terrible anyway, and you got nothing for him. So those are the reasons that I want Danielle Hunter back. I know from a business standpoint, it's called a sunk cost, and you might be throwing good money after bad. I don't think it's throwing good money after bad with Danielle Hunter. He's 29, about to be 30 in October, I believe. We're not talking about a 34-year-old guy. We're talking about a 29, about to be 30-year-old guy. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. Put it in the chat. Do you want Danielle Hunter back? Do you want Harrison Smith back? Who do you want the Vikings to go after? Put it in the chat. So let's get back. Let's see what you guys got for me here, because I know a few people came in the building while I was ranting there. So, number one, hey, I appreciate you, George. Shout out George in the building. What is going on? Oh, that was probably the Sarah's comment about the 11th hour. Yeah. Norsby says Hitman's lost a step. Yeah, I think so too. Which is why I'm not going to be all that disappointed if he ends up going somewhere else. And here's the beautiful thing about this. Here's one scenario. If the Vikings cut Harrison Smith, please go to Dallas and be reunited with Mike Zimmer. And here's why. If old Kirky Boy goes to Atlanta, the Falcons come here to play us. So we'll get to play Kirky Boy. And the Falcons go to Washington. So he'll have an opportunity to play his other ex-team. And the Falcons play the Cowboys, so he'll get to go up against Zimmer and company. If Kirk goes to Atlanta and Harrison goes to Dallas, Kirk will be able to see all of his exes in one fell swoop. Hold on just a second, guys. All right, let's get back here. Spend smart. Thank you, Raymond. Yes, spend smartly. We don't need to go buck wild. We don't need to. Oh, we got to do everything we can to make sure that we are competitive for the division this season. If you don't bring back Kirk Cousins and you get a rookie quarterback and you go 7 to 10 wins and are competitive and just miss the playoffs like you did last year, you can live with that because you're growing as a team. You're rebuilding your team. You're restructuring your team, and you're getting your rookie quarterback some development time. If you bring back Kirk Cousins and you bring back Harrison Smith and Danielle Hunter, and you do the same sorts of things with a couple of key pieces being traded off here and there, and you barely squeak in and lose in the wild card or the division round of the playoffs, what's the point? I'm not saying I want the team to be bad. I never want the team to be bad, but sometimes you have to make some choices, hard choices. But it would be so delicious if Kirk got to face all of his exes all in one season. That would just be great. Shout out Bite Size. What's going on? Big front office blunder if Danielle walks for just a comp pick, in my opinion. Thank you. I totally agree. Theo Northsea says Theo Jackson. Yeah, I forgot about him. Shout out Duncan. What's going on? Time for him to retire. Go ahead of Vikings career. I agree. Harry can come back as a coach. Yeah, I'd be open to that. I would absolutely be open to that. Smith has the same. Yeah, he does. And that's the other thing, too. He absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. But Troy Polamalu was in the media doing, commercials, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are a legacy franchise, so they got more airtime than the Vikings did. No, I totally agree. I think Harrison should be in the Hall of Fame. Again, I think he's a slight minuscule notch below Polamalu and a slight minuscule notch below Ed Reed, but he's right there with those guys. He absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. I hope news drops today that Kirk is going. You know what? I might finish this live, go pick up my kid, and if there's that news, I'll be going live again, or I'll be texting Dave, hey, when are we going live on this channel or that channel? We'll do everything. Yeah, minus the Super Bowl. That's it. Absolutely. They probably piss Hunter off, making Kirk a priority. Yeah, there's that. Because we've heard absolutely nothing about Danielle Hunter. He's been on the back burner, and it drives me crazy because he should be on the front burner. Shout out to Caesar. What's going on? Bye-bye, Kirky. Thank goodness. I certainly hope so. And it doesn't mean that I'm saying he's bad. I'm just saying it's time to move in a different direction. Shout out Dave Thibodeau in the building. What's going on? Who is ready for Mahomes and McCarthy Super Bowl rivalry? Ooh, I take that. Shout out Gary. What's going on? Appreciate you. A lot of hellos and what's up. Shout out Jacob. What's going on, Jacob? Good to see you. I want the free agents to hit and run. I prefer to retire. I feel you on that. Hang on, yo. Hang on just a second. All right. Anyway, shout out, Jake. Mr. J Day, I will always support your podcast, but I have to bite my young. I think bite my tongue. Okay. Shout out, Jade. What's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. Pizza boy. You ain't lying. Oh, there aren't any pizza ranches. Yeah, but there's lots of Kohl's down in Atlanta. There's lots of Kohl's down there. All that Kohl's cash will transfer over from what I hear. If we had lost those flute games, Dobbs won, we'd be picking at top 5. Yeah, I've said that. I've said that, by the way. We need to lose one game. We had the top 6 pick. We lose 2 picks. We would have had top 4. Harrison should totally be a coach. I totally agree. Maybe if they get rid of Kirk and everybody else can stay, Hunter, Jefferson. I certainly hope so. I really honestly do. SKOL Mafia says, hey, Jay, do you want Kirk back? Yeah, right. Vikings Twitter is going to be all of Twitter is going to be great, but yes, Vikings Twitter is going to blow up. I agree. This off season could cost a lot of jobs. Yeah, that's true. That's true too. Shout out In the Zone podcast. What's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you as well. All right, let's talk about old Kirky boy. Let's talk about old Kirky boy. Let me be very, very clear. I think Kirk is a good, not great quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott are literally the same guy. The same guy. So they keep you from being terrible. They also keep you from being great. It's as simple as that. You can't win a Super Bowl with those guys on their market values. You just cannot. You just can't. You've seen it over and over again. Dak Prescott, he's been to the divisional round 3 times, never been to an NFC championship game. Kirk Cousins, been to the divisional round once, never been to an NFC championship game. You know what their ceiling is. Yes, they have high floors. When Dak was out that season, the Cowboys were terrible. The Vikings were terrible this season without Kirk. And they've had mediocre seasons with Kirk when the defense wasn't good or when the offensive line wasn't good. And then in the years where they've been passable, we've been just okay. So it's time to move on. It's time to turn the page. If I was a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, there's no way I'd be giving Dak Prescott $60 million. What? I don't care that that's what the market bears. And I don't care that the contracts get higher and higher. And year after year, good, not great quarterbacks are getting paid the same amount of money as the elite quarterbacks. Forget about it. Forget about it. So here's what I'm going to say about Kirky boy. And then it's time to decide what we're going to do. Kirk says, yeah, I'm amenable to taking a hometown discount. It's not about the money. It's about what it represents. That was the biggest line of horse crap I've ever heard. But the Kirk stand sure ate that up, didn't they? See, he's willing to be a team player. Okay, what has happened since then? Well, Kirk put out a video saying that he was healthy right around the combine. Kirk Cousins has done the media tour here and there, and that's fine. And Mike Florio and his infinite wisdom, whether you love Florio or not, makes these comments about, yeah, Kirk's ready to move to Atlanta, which was then later refuted. You know, all this talk about Kirk to Atlanta started with Kirk Cousins' agent, right? He's trying to get the Vikings to up their offer because the Vikings have a offer on the table that Kirk doesn't want to accept. And that's their line in the sand. The same line in the sand that they had with Eric Kendricks, the same line in the sand that they had with Adam Thielen, the same line in the sand that they had with Harrison Smith last year, and what they probably have with Harrison Smith this year. They've got their line. They say, yeah, we like you. We don't love you. We wouldn't mind having you back, but we're not breaking the bank to keep you here. So what's Kirk done? He's put himself out there. He's marketed himself. And I don't begrudge him that. I've said it a million times. I don't begrudge players getting their money. I don't. But don't come out on one hand and say that you're willing to take a team-friendly deal and stay because you think you can win a Super Bowl here, and you understand that you've got to take less money in order for the team to be built up enough around you so that you can be successful, and then turn around and try to get as much money as you can. Pick a lane. You want to get as much money as you can? That's fine. I'm not mad at you for that. Kirk Cousins' image took a massive increase after the Netflix documentary came out this time last year. It was him and Patrick Mahomes, and who was the other guy? Marcus Mariota. See, you barely remember that third guy because he was basically meaningless in that show. But anyway, and now I'm starting to see a lot of people turn on Kirk. And I'm not going to have a party that, all of these people that religiously supported him. Well, there's a handful of people that will always religiously support him no matter what he does and thinks that the Vikings should re-sign him for $60 million a year and give him more money than the Cowboys are about to give Dak Prescott. Yeah, right. Get out of here with that mess. I'm going to simply say this. 6 years of Kirk Cousins coming off of an NFC Championship game appearance where the team had been built up since 2014 by making good draft picks. Of course, after about 2015, that well ran dry because Rick Spielman just lost his fastball. You brought in Kirk Cousins. And for 2 seasons, you still had top 10 defense. For anybody that wants to say the Vikings have failed Kirk Cousins for the last 4 seasons because they haven't been able to put a decent team around him. Well, they had a decent team around him when he got here, so let's not pretend that that isn't the case, okay? Let's just not pretend that those 2 years didn't happen. Well, during those 2 years, you had Mike Zimmer as the head coach and John DeFilippo this, and the offensive line was in shambles with the unfortunate passing of Tony Sperano. Excuse after excuse after excuse. All I'm going to say is this. If you're going to give Kirk Cousins the excuse of the last 3-4 seasons with the team eroding and the drafts drying up and the team making short-sighted moves, then you darn well better not give him the excuse of when he did have a top 10 defense for 2 seasons. So all I'm going to say is this. I am not somebody that is going to put all the blame on Kirk Cousins for the last 6 seasons being mediocre at best. 1 playoff win, 2 playoff appearances, and 4 losing seasons. I'm not saying it's all Kirk Cousins' fault because it's not. He's a good quarterback. He's probably top 5 in Vikings history, which doesn't say much because we haven't really had that many quarterbacks to have sustained success to be able to put them up against. But stop making the excuses too. I don't like the Kirk Cousins haters that want to put all the blame on Kirk Cousins and ignore the bad drafts, ignore the short-sighted moves that the front office had made, whether that, again, was at the behest of the owners or not. Doesn't really matter at this point. I'm not going to put all the blame on Kirk, but I'm also not listening to the Kirk stands that want to put no blame on Kirk whatsoever. It's all something and somebody else's fault. It's time to move on. With Kirk Cousins, you have a very high floor and you have a relatively low ceiling. It's just the way it is. Is it all his fault? No. It's not all his fault. He's not the problem per se, but he's also not the solution. I've been ready to move off Kirk Cousins for about 3 years. After that 2019 divisional round loss to the San Francisco 49ers, after that overtime victory against the Saints in the wild card round, I knew the window was closed then. And I said, you know what? We've gone as far as we can. And it's been proven that we've gone as far as we can. Yes, you could sign Kirk if he was willing to take a 2-year deal with guaranteed money only in the first year, which at the moment he's not. We've all put together, anybody can figure it out, that Kirk Cousins wants 2, if not 3 years guaranteed. It's just not going to happen. And finally, Kwesi has said, you know what, Ziggy, Mark, you brought me here to win you a Super Bowl, not to just be competitive. I said this the day after the season ended, mired in mediocrity. Kirk Cousins does prevent you from having a train wreck season. If Kirk Cousins is healthy for the entire season, you're not going to have a 5-win season. Okay? That says something about Kirk. That says he's a good quarterback. He's train wreck proof. He's also Super Bowl proof. And you've seen it. Oh, we just need to fix this. Oh, we just need to fix that. You know what they said in 2020 after going to the divisional round? Okay, we're going to let Xavier Rhodes go. We're going to let Trey Waynes go. We're going to let Mackenzie Alexander go. And we're just going to go with all these new guys because Mike Zimmer can coach them up. What did we do that season? We traded for Yannick Ngakoue. That's the only move of consequence that we made that season. Then we promptly went 7-9. And after starting out 1-5, you were right up to the trade deadline. That was the time to pivot. You wanted to go into the season after making a run to the divisional round. You started off 1-5. You could have traded off players and started this process sooner of rebuilding, not necessarily tanking, but rebuilding. Oh, well, we went 6-4 by not trading all those players. Yeah, you ended up 7-9. Big deal. Shoot your standards higher than just being competitive to maybe get into the playoffs. And so I'll say again, yes, it is possible. You could sign Kirk Cousins and sign JJ and bring back Danielle Hunter and push more money into the future and keep kicking that can down the road. But haven't we seen that long enough? And what makes you think that year 7 is going to be any different than years 1 through 6? Years 1 through 6. We don't get eliminated at the end of November, first part of December. Come Christmas Day when we're watching games, eating our food, opening our presents, the Vikings are always in the hunt. And what's that gotten us? I'm not saying it's all his fault. Just to be clear to the Kirk stands, I'm not saying it's all his fault. I'm just saying he's not the problem per se, but he's also not the solution. And part of the reason the team has been that way is because he's making market value. That's why I've wanted a rookie quarterback. Does that mean it's a guarantee that that rookie quarterback's going to work out? No, there are no guarantees. There's no guarantees here. There's one guarantee. I take it back. You're guaranteed to be a mediocre team if you have Kirk Cousins, because you can only do so much around him with him making the amount of money he makes. And again, I'm not saying that he's overpaid. I'm saying that from a roster construction standpoint, you can only do so much. You can only do so much. So I don't begrudge Kirk Cousins. I endorsed the move at the time. I was ready to move off of him after 2019. I didn't like that they gave him a 2-year extension. And after they started 1-5, I was ready to trade him because San Francisco would have taken him at that point. And then I didn't like the fact that when they fired Zimmer and Spielman, that they didn't just do a complete rehaul to this team right then and there. I was doing content, and I said the one thing I don't want is for them to fire the GM, fire the head coach, but then keep all the players and say, hey, let's see what we can do with a new coach with the same team. Well, you saw what we can do. We've had 2 seasons, and let's call it for what it is. That first season, 2022, it was a fluke. Now, we don't have to give those wins back. We don't have to give back the excitement that we had. But what did we do? We put off the inevitable by 2 years. We wasted the last 2 years of Justin Jefferson's rookie contract and some other players, Christian Darrisaw, for example, to do what? A wild card round loss and a missed playoffs. It's time. Kirk, good luck to you, wherever you may go. To quote Semisonic, closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not going to root against Kirk. I'm not going to celebrate if Kirk takes a team farther than he ever took us. Oh, I'm going to cheer for Kirk Cousins, and I hope he does good if he's not with us. Why? It's one thing to cheer for Kevin Garnett when he went to Boston. Yeah, let Kevin Garnett, a Hall of Famer that we drafted, let him get a championship somewhere else. Fine. Kirk Cousins was a mercenary that was brought in here. And ultimately, the team did not have the success that it had hoped that it would have. And by the way, for the stands that want to say, well, Kirk Cousins wasn't brought here to be the missing piece. Yes, he was. You're lying to yourself, and you're trying to convince yourself that that isn't the case. The Vikings brass, when they signed him, said he's our missing piece. We believe we have everything else in place, and we just needed an upgraded quarterback. That's their words. Ziggy and Mark Wilf, Rick Spielman, heck, everybody of consequence in charge of the Vikings said Kirk Cousins was the missing piece, except Mike Zimmer. Now, we can say whatever we want about Mike Zimmer's relationship with Kirk Cousins, and I'm not giving Mike Zimmer a pass, but everybody said he was the missing piece. I've said this before. I'll say it again. And I want everybody to take a breath, sit back and listen to what I'm about to say. The Kirk Cousins experiment for 6 years was a failure. Does that mean Kirk Cousins was a failure? Not necessarily. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the team over the last 6 years, 4 losing seasons, 1 playoff wildcard round loss, and 1 playoff divisional round loss. Okay? That's not success. Oh, well, we never had a 3-win season. We were never terrible. We were never eliminated at Thanksgiving. So that's success, right? There are other teams that every year around Thanksgiving, they get eliminated, and the Vikings don't do that. They always manage to get eliminated either in the last week of the season, the second last of the week of the season, or in the first or second round of the playoffs. That's not success anymore. Yeah. The Detroit Lions, if they had just won their first playoff game and then had lost in the divisional round to Tampa Bay, and not lost in the NFC Championship game against San Francisco, that would have been success for them because they hadn't had it in 30 years. My entire lifetime, sustained success. When have we had it? We had it in 08 and 09. That was the last time we went to the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. 2008 with Tavares Jackson and Gus Frerotte, and 2009 with Brett Favre. Before that, we had a stint 3 years with 4 years, 97, 98, 99, and 2000. It's the last time we've gone to the playoffs in 4 straight seasons. Why? Because we're just hovering around that middle. Well, we're never bad. Yeah, but we're rarely ever great. And when we do, it's a pop-up season once every 9 or 10 years. So, yes, I'm willing to take that step back if we have to. This doesn't mean I'm saying let's just completely tank and trade JJ and punt on this season. No. You go out, you sign some free agents, you build up your defensive line. And I'm more interested in defensive line free agents than I am these cornerbacks. Yeah, the Snead guy from Kansas City, I'd love to have him, but that's if I've already got my defensive front set. What good does Snead do if you're getting no pressure on the quarterback? Not much. So, yes, I want the Wilkins guy. I want to bring Danielle Hunter back. I want to draft a guy. I want to rebuild the defensive front first. And the easiest way to do that is to not have the quarterback contract at market value. And I would say that about anybody. If Dak Prescott was our quarterback and Kirk Cousins was in Dallas, I'd be saying the same thing about him. Why? Because the results would be the same. If Kirk Cousins was in Dallas, they'd still not have gone to an NFC Championship game. If Dak Prescott was here, we still would have not gone to an NFC Championship game. They're the same guy, not stylistically. I'm not saying that, oh, they're both mobile quarterbacks or they're both this, both pocket passers. No, I'm saying stylistically what you can do with them and what your level, what your ceiling is with them. So, yeah, it's time to move on. We wish you well, Kirk. I have no ill will towards you. I can't wait for the civil war in Vikings Nation to be done between. Then what's funny about it is there's three parts of the civil war. There's the Kirk stands who think Kirk can do no wrong. There's the Kirk haters that think everything is his fault. And then there's those of us in the middle that will point out his flaws. And of course, then the stands will put us in the group of being haters just because we're pointing out his flaws. And then we also point out the flaws of the rest of the team, the drafting, the free agent signings, et cetera, et cetera. I'm ready for us to find something else to argue over. But the more I think about it, if we do move on from Kirk and we get a rookie quarterback and he doesn't turn into CJ Stroud, the Kirk team is like, see, we should have paid Kirk Cousins. Yeah, we should have done this. We should have done this. No, it's time to go. It is absolutely time to go. I've got a few more minutes here because I got to go pick up Mini-Me. But before I do that, I got to get to you. You guys are blowing up my chat. I can barely keep up with all this. I got to scroll so far back. But if you haven't already done so, hit that like button. If you don't already subscribe, hit that subscribe button. And if you could tweet this out, share it out, whatever you want to do. If you're going to overspend in the first part of free agent, make sure that the players are cornerstone of future. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Feel like Hunter is going to Jacksonville. Yeah, and you know what? That's why I would have traded him to Jacksonville last year and got something back for him. That's number one. Number two, so then you don't have to worry about whether he's going to go to Detroit or Chicago, and you have to face him twice a year and make those teams better. That's why I would have traded him, because the team trading for him would have signed him no matter what. But anyway. A lot of hellos. You guys got someone? I don't even think KOC wants him back. The decision was made last. Well, I think KOC would be fine if he stayed, but I also think he'd be fine if he goes. Because KOC, like I said, he knows that he's got his baseline of 7-8 wins with Kirk if he's healthy the whole season. He also knows he can't go very far with him either. So it is a catch-22. KOC's not going to just want to say, okay, get rid of him and give me Nick Mullins for the rest of my career here, because he knows he's not going anywhere with him. But again, what's my plan? Esteemed guy I collaborate with. Well, what's your plan? Anybody but Kirk, right? No, my plan is you trade up and you get one of the guys at the top of this draft. You're not getting Caleb Williams. I'm cool with Drake May. Sorry, Zoe. I am. I'm cool with Jaden Daniels, and I'm open to JJ McCarthy. And, well, who's your bridge quarterback? You already have a bridge. Guy's name's Nick Mullins. I know that doesn't excite you, but that's not what the point is. The point is if you trade up and get one of those three guys, May, Daniels, or Jay McCarthy, the objective is you let them learn in the offseason under the tutelage of Kevin O'Connell. And if he's not ready to start week one, you put somebody out there for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks, first half of the season in Nick Mullins. You hope you go 4-4, and then you let the rookie take over. You don't need to go spend money on a Baker Mayfield or a Ryan Tannehill or any one of these other slappies out there. Well, why don't you bring Kirk back as a bridge? Kirk's not going to take being a bridge. A bridge quarterback is somebody you pay minimal and somebody you know understands that when the new guy's ready, he's taking over for you. So Kirk ain't going for that. And realistically, I don't want to waste the money on a guy. You already got a guy in Nick Mullins. I'm not saying that you're going to go to the playoffs with Nick Mullins. The playoffs this year, if we got there, that'd be great. But the objective isn't to be a playoff competitive team in 2024. The objective is to be a Super Bowl competitive team in 2025, 26, 27, and 28. And if the steps to be more competitive for a Super Bowl in 25 and beyond is that you just have a whatever season, then that's what you do. I'm not saying that, oh, I don't care about the season. Of course I do. 17 games. I'll have my jersey on, doing pregame shows, doing content all throughout the year. But it's not about setting up for 2024 as far as we can go. Because I can tell you right now, the farthest we're going to go in 2024 is the divisional round of the playoffs. That's with or without Kirk, at best. Yeah, a rookie quarterback, if we got Drake May, or if we got Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy, I would say our ceiling is the divisional round of the playoffs, and if everything goes perfectly. With Kirk Cousins, same thing. If everything goes perfectly, we'll get to the divisional round. So I'd rather watch a young guy earn his stripes, get his development, and move on. Anyway, Jade says he's always been about the money. It's so obvious. Yeah, well, there is that. Do I think Brian Flores is the next Vikings? No, I don't. Something would have to seriously go wrong. Like if they did move up and draft a rookie quarterback, that buys Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell at least 2, if not 3 more years. So no, I don't see that happening. I'm never going to say I hope Brian Flores never gets a head coaching job because, it's kind of shady to say or shady to think. If he gets a head coaching job, we wish him luck. But for as long as he's the defensive coordinator here, that's fine. But no, I don't see him overtaking Kevin O'Connell unless something goes disastrously bad. Good question, though. Kirk has the best agent in the league. Well, yeah. I'll say this. There should be a Hall of Fame for negotiators and for agents. And Kirk Cousins' guy, Mike McCartney, yeah, he's a first ballot. Absolutely. You wonder if he did the next show just to prepare? Probably. Yes, probably. I mean, listen, look at that Netflix show. They had Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Obviously, everybody's going to tune in for Patrick Mahomes. And then they got Kirk Cousins and they got Marcus Mariota. And by the way, they tried to do a second season of that and nobody wanted to. Absolutely nobody wanted to do it. So yes, I'm sure there's something to be said there that Kirk probably did that to up his image. And I don't begrudge him that. Absolutely. Wouldn't we all do that? Sure. Absolutely. Discount means more money. You ain't lying, Raymond. You ain't lying. Remember when he was the only missing piece? Then they proceed to say they had to build the team around Kirk. Yeah, exactly. Sarah says it is mostly Kirk's fault. I'm not going to say mostly, or I'm talking about the extremes, like the extremes that say it's all his fault or it's none his fault. That's where I was really going with. But I agree, Gary. The drafts have been terrible. And part of the reasons the drafts have been terrible, again, part of it was Rick Spielman losing his fastball. Part of it was Rick Spielman making short-sighted moves like, well, we're in a Super Bowl window and we have a legitimate need for a center, so we're going to overdraft Garrett Bradbury. Why? Because his job was on the line. You think if Rick Spielman didn't have the directive of we're in a Super Bowl window and we're going to be competitive and we're pushing forward, that maybe that had some influence on why he took Garrett Bradbury? I don't know. I'm just saying maybe. Shout out Nano. What's going on? Good to see you. Vikings better not bring his bum bleep back. No, I totally agree. I'm done. Shout out to Detta Queen. Mary, what's going on, Mary? Good to see you. I got your text earlier, or I got your DM earlier. It's okay. It's all good. I hope you're doing better. Hope you're feeling better. We got a house call from the doctor. What's going on? Multitasking son-in-law birthday party going. All right. There you go. I hope I'm not the clown providing the entertainment for your son-in-law. I don't know if your son-in-law is how old he is, but anyway, this is going. Super Bowl proof. Yeah. And again, people say, well, Justin, have the same energy for this quarterback and that quarterback. I've said the same thing. And by the way, can we stop with this ridiculous notion of comparing Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott to Lamar Jackson, a guy that's won 2 MVPs and actually been to a championship game? Can we stop with that, please? Can we please stop with that? Well, what about Josh Allen? Josh Allen has run into Patrick Mahomes. What do you think the Vikings would do against Patrick Mahomes? They wouldn't be beating him. Couldn't beat him at home this season. Oh, well, this. Well, this, if this. Yeah. Stop. I'm trying to compare Kirk to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Just stop it already. 7 times the charm. There you go. There is a new moon tomorrow, so maybe this will be the fresh start. Oh, I don't care what it takes. Purple Punch 420. What's going on? Kirk may not even be ready to start to see. Yes, that's the other thing too. All right, let's take the last 6 years out of the equation. You want to know what Atlanta Falcon fans, some of them are saying right now? Why would we want to spend a bucket load of money on a 36-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury? So put everything that's happened in the last 6 years aside, what he was supposed to be when he got here, what the team sold us on when he got here, and what he's accomplished in this year. Let's put that all aside. If we were in the opposite situation, would these same Kirk fans that want Kirk Cousins back so bad be saying, yeah, let's give a bucket load of money to a 36-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles? And the answer is no. The only reason they want to is because it's old Kirky boy. So stop spending money on a mediocre quarterback, spread that money out, and step up on the collective talent as you go. Yes, I've been saying it for 2 years. I totally agree with you, Duncan. Totally agree. Shout out, Bob. What's going on? No, I ain't mocking. I'm not one to mock because I don't know what I'm doing. So, but shout out to Bob. I appreciate you coming by, as always. Atlanta fans are mad that Kirk's going. Yeah, that was just saying that. I hadn't seen your comment yet, Sarah, but that's it. Some of them are like, because again, what does Kirk Cousins represent? He represents a good, not great quarterback that if you are a team like Atlanta, who is a 5 to 7 win team that hasn't been to the playoffs since 2017, that year we had before Kirk got here. The Falcons haven't been to the playoffs since Kirk got to Minnesota. The Vikings have been there twice. Wow, what a difference, right? Anyway, a team like Atlanta that's 5 to 7 wins, yes, Kirk Cousins would make them a 10-11 win team and would probably take them to the divisional round of the playoffs. And that's an improvement over what Atlanta has had. So what he represents is, well, it's better than what we got. Is it enough to win a Super Bowl? No, but that's okay. Should have taken all of the 3 pillars and knocked them out, but oh no, had to hire Kirky's buddy and keep Kirk. That was stupid. Yes, I've said it a million times. I think the Wills are really good owners. They're a lot better than Red McCombs or the Gang of 10 before them. But that's the one thing about the Wilfs that if I could sit them down and be like, and maybe Kwesi's finally getting through to them to say, hey, being competitive every year means you're not garbage, but it also means you're not a champion. The goal is not, hey, we want to do everything we can to not be bad. The goal is to be great. And yes, and I think, Mateo, you and I were probably in the same space when we talked about that, is to say, hey, get rid of all 3 pillars. That's what I said when I was talking with Mike. Get rid of all 3 pillars and be done with it. Mahomes could have won 2 or 3 Super Bowls without Russell. I don't know about that. I think with Mahomes, in 18 and 19, could have done something. Maybe in 22, you might have been able to do something. But yeah, for the people out there that think, well, Kirk, if he hadn't gotten hurt, we would have made a run in the playoffs. No, we wouldn't have. Did you see that defense over the last month? Oh, well, we almost beat the Lions, and that was with Nick Mullins throwing 4 interceptions. Great. What does that do? Oh, well, we beat the 49ers in October. Yeah, we beat the 49ers in October. We can always talk about September and October. Kirktober. We'll always have that to go back on about how well Kirk Cousins plays in October. I'll remind folks, the final score of that game was 22-17 because Greg Joseph missed an extra point. So ostensibly, he scored 23 points. Y'all acting, these people and say, well, we beat San Francisco. You acting like we beat them 34-10, like we blew them out or something. No, we barely beat them. And we sealed the game with a game-ending interception with less than 2 minutes left. So if the defense hadn't gotten a turnover, what did you even say? Oh, we could have beat San Francisco if the defense had done this. It wasn't Kirky's fault. Okay. I suppose we should give the Green Bay Packers a Super Bowl championship. Why? Because they beat Kansas City during the regular season, and they just completely kicked away the game against San Francisco. So anybody want to say the Vikings would have gone on a playoff run, I guess we should just give the Super Bowl to the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, get out of here with that mess. Get out of here. You're totally right. Zim was the only one who wasn't at. Yeah, exactly. First year starting Green Bay better than 9 year starting Kirk. Can't disagree. Kirk fans don't want a good backup quarterback that would benefit the team because he might push. Yes, absolutely. And again, it's just time. It's just time. I don't want to go too much further down the road because we're going to have fun this week, one way or the other. We're either going to be doing shows that the Vikings caved and gave Kirk Cousins not only a contract extension, but actually met his contract demands, or we're going to be saying it's the best day ever. It's a new chapter. Anyway, he makes us competitive to not be horrible. That's what I'm saying. We're never horrible. We're never a 3-4 win team. Again, I have higher standards than that. If we're thinking about it, it's not even a step back since the last 6 years accounted to not. Yeah. Again, I said after 2019, they should have went in a different direction. What have they done? They've had losing seasons 3 out of those 4 years. And that one season that wasn't a losing season was a bit of a fluke. It was fun. Had all kinds of fun that season. I went to 3 games that year. I went to the opener against Green Bay. I went to the Arizona game. And somebody very dear and near to my heart, we took my daughter and her son to that Colts game. You've heard me recite this. We probably would have left that game after the middle of the third quarter if we hadn't brought them. It's like, well, we already brought them. And then all of a sudden things turned and it was the greatest day ever. But what did it get us? First round playoff loss. Well, that's on the defense. Well, yeah, I'm not saying that loss was all on Kirk and 4th and 8 certainly doesn't help Kirk's cause, but yeah, I'm not saying it like it's all his fault. I'm just saying it's time to move on, go in a different direction. I'm just glad we're not dumb enough to pay Kirk. I said that earlier. Yeah. Dak Cousins, Kirk Prescott. Exactly. They're the same guy. I like this one from Purple Punch. They're teasers. Yes. They're guys that keep you from being terrible. They keep you in the middle. And occasionally you got one season where you're sort of in that top, you're at the bottom of the top tier. That's it. Kirk is a $30 million a year guy. Yeah, that's about right. But because the quarterback market has gotten so inflated, there are no $30 million a year guys. There's either $15 million a year guys or $45 million a year guys. Yes, I'll be glad to finally put this discussion to rest. I agree with you, Mary. That's comment of the day from Mary. There you go. The song and dance is over. I certainly hope so. I hate to admit it, but our fall we inflated. Yeah, well, I was just going to say, how did this quarterback market get so inflated? Because we did. All right, Dave, what do you got? Just wait. The Vikings will bleep this all up. Yeah. Don't say it, Dave. All right, In the Zone says no to Kirk, bye to Smith, bye Hunter, and Brad. Yeah, oh, yeah, you can get Bradbury out of here. I'm done with him, too. I'm done with him. Kind of seems like KOC is over at Kirk holding KOC back. I hope so. I hope so. I really do. Absolutely not. Russell Wilson? No. Zach Wilson? No. I don't know which Wilson you were talking about, but I'll just get them both out of the way. That is a big heck no to both of them. I will say this. Can I be talked into Russell Wilson for 1 year and 1 year only at veterans minimum just for the financial benefits of it where you're getting him for nothing? I could be talked into it. But even with that being said, hold on, my ears hurt. It's been an hour. All right, got to readjust. Even for 1 year, I don't want him. I don't want him in that locker room. I don't want him permeating stuff. And I know some people are saying, well, it's not all his fault. It was Sean Payton's or Nathaniel Hackett, this, that, and third. No. 5 years ago, yes, on Russell Wilson. Zach Wilson, I have no interest in. I already got a guy. I got a guy in Nick Mullins. What's different about Nick Mullins and Zach Wilson other than age? It's about what they represent. So, again, my bridge quarterback idea is Nick Mullins. I'm fine with it. I'm not saying that I'm thrilled by it. I'm not saying that I think Nick Mullins could take us to the playoffs, but it's about setting up a Super Bowl run, not setting up being competitive to maybe win the division and losing the Wilder division round. Sorry. But good question. Nick Mullins plays. JJ will get to, well, let's not go that far. He'll also have 30 interceptions by week 10. But anyway, Minnesota's cursed already. Yeah, well, it is. There's something to be said there. Shout out Dylan. What's going on, Dylan? How mad would we be if they let go and immediately bring you Justin Fields? I got to think about it. Justin Fields, I liked coming out of Ohio State. And I'm willing to give Justin Fields a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, being that he's been in the quarterback cesspool that is the Chicago Bears and has had no tutelage around him and not a whole lot to work with. If Justin Fields had only been in the league for a year, or he was coming out this year, that's one thing. Because then I have the rookie quarterback contract card to play. Justin Fields will be going into his fourth season, and you have to decide by, I think it's the middle of May, if you're going to exercise the fifth-year option, which means the Vikings would have no time to evaluate him to see if they want to give him the fifth-year option. This time last year, would I have done it? Yeah, for cheap. But I think it's going to cost you a second-round pick. I'm second or third-round pick. We don't have a third-round pick, and I'm not giving up a second for Justin Fields. Now, if they manage to get Justin Fields in here for like a fourth or fifth-round pick, okay, I'm listening to it. I'm still trading up and I'm still drafting my quarterback because, again, I want a guy who is starting his rookie contract, not a guy who's about to exit it. Having said that, do I think Justin Fields could theoretically be a lot more successful here than he was in Chicago with JJ, Addison, and Kevin O'Connell, an actual quarterback, head coach that could do something with him? Yes, I think he could be better. But to me, that ship has sailed. I wouldn't be like deathly against it, but I'm looking in a different direction than Justin Fields. Don't get me wrong. Don't need CCP agents. I'm not sure what that was going to, but okay. Okay, George, I have no idea where you're going. I have no idea where you're going with all that, but that's all right. If Court, JJ will have more tackles and pace. Either way, it's not about what he represents in 2024 as far as what the season would be. It's about representing, just having a placeholder here until the new guy is ready and not spending money on somebody else just to spend money on somebody else. Justin Fields' pickup would be right in line with Kwesi's competitive rebuild. Maybe, maybe not. Better to be losers for cheap than losers with no caps. Well, there's something to be said there, too. I can't argue with that. Ownership is actually to blame in the grand scheme. Yes, I'll do my ownership rant a little bit. Jade, if you didn't see my episode, it's called Mired in Mediocrity, and it was the day after the season ended, and I had a nice little rant about the team always been stuck being mediocre and why that is, and because the Wilfs refuse to take a step back or have a season where they're just not competitive and that they want to always not be bad. I'm going to say it like this. I think the owners have done a good job overall. And I think their problem is their mindset. They saw the Giants go to the playoffs in 2012 as a 9-7 wildcard team and win the Super Bowl. And they think that that's all you need to do. Just because it happened once or twice doesn't mean you should bank on that. Just get into the dance and you can win it all. Just because it's happened, and it happened to be their hometown team. But what's funny about it is people want to say, oh, the Giants did it twice. The Giants in 2007 were an 11-5 wild card team. They weren't some slappy 8-9 win team that barely snuck in and then went on a run. The Packers were a 10-6 seed who in all six of the entire season, 16 games for the Green Bay Packers, the year they won it with Aaron Rodgers in 2010, they never trailed by more than 7 points. So don't let that 10-6 seed fool you. And yeah, okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2005 with Ben Roethlisberger at 10-6, they had a dominant defense, and they had, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't Hall of Fame Ben Roethlisberger, but my point is that when you're talking about Roethlisberger in 05, you're talking about Eli in 2012 and Rodgers in 2010, we're talking about 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks that all had great defenses. The Vikings have none of that. They don't have a great defense. They have a better defense than they did 2 years ago. I'll give them that with Flores. But they weren't a great defense. They were better, but they don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback that can come up in the clutch like that in the playoffs. So stop using those 3 one-offs, those outliers as examples as to that. So yes, the owners need to get it through their head. Hey, we might need, it doesn't mean we say tank. There's a difference between tanking and taking a step back. Taking a step back, resetting your roster, paying off your bills to the salary cap, get rid of all those void years and all that dead money, and then come back strong with $100-some million in 2025. Yeah, sign a couple players this year and maybe push some of the money into the future. That's fine too. You can start rebuilding, retooling. That's not a tank. But anyway, the owners have done, if the TCO is just outstanding. So I'm not going to say that they're cheap, and I'm not going to say that they don't care about winning. They do care about winning. Do they care about making their money? Well, of course they do. They're billionaires, obviously. What do billionaires want? More billions. But I'm not going to say that they're bad owners. What I'm going to say is that their mindset of thinking that that's all that they need to do is what needs to change. But I do agree with the overall point. In the grand scheme of things, everybody wants to throw shade at Kwesi, and everybody wants to throw shade at Rick Spielman. Some of the moves they made is because that's what their owners told them to do. The owner said to them, we're not taking a step back. So do what's necessary to remain competitive so we can get into the playoffs. And then anything can happen. I'm not letting Spielman off the hook, as I said earlier, but I think some of his last couple of drafts were because the owners were like, no, this is what you're going to do. And I'm not throwing a life raft to Kwesi. I'm not saying that he is above criticism, but his first year, what was it? Oh, the directive is that you're going to keep this team together for the most part and see what we can do with the new head coach and see if it was all Mike Zimmer's fault. So that all being said, Purple Punch, what do you got? Costs a lot of money to there's that. Kwesi sees he's not getting out to the top 3 and aren't falling in love with JJ, then I say go for Fields. Okay, I can listen to it. Wouldn't be my first choice. Shout out, Zach. What's going on? Can't wait for this week to be. Oh, you are not lying. Monday's going to be great, and Wednesday's going to be great too. I mean, Monday stuff gets to be known. And Wednesdays, it gets to be official. All right, I got a couple minutes left. We got my guy T-Bass in the building. What's going on? I have a really bad feeling about JJ McCarthy. I think I'd rather have Nix or Penix. I don't know. I'd rather just have Drake May or Jaden Daniels. But that's just me. Ownership's goal is to fill the seats and make money, win the Super Bowl secondary. Again, I'm not saying that the Super Bowl is not a priority to them. I'm just saying their first priority is to not be bad. Their second priority is to win a Super Bowl. And they just have that backwards, in my opinion. Andy Reid has a lot to do with the Kansas City Saints. Don't do. Oh, that too. Absolutely. Totally agree. Shout out Chains. What's going on? Good to see you. Too Evil. What's going on? Oh, you met Russell. Okay. Shout out Drop Shot. Appreciate you. Yeah, I knew he was going to be in the trade JJ camp. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go. And the Wills don't have the pulse of a diehard fan. There's that. The Wills are Giants fans, don't forget. Yeah, well, there is that too. And yes, I was just going to say that. I'm going to wrap it there. That's why Poles said he didn't want the job, or that he couldn't have the job. Poles came in and said, no, it's time for you to take a step back. Look at what Poles did. I'm not saying that, again, where are the Bears and the Vikings? Well, they both finished 7-10 last year, and the Bears appear to have more resources now. Again, they don't have JJ, but yeah, Poles wanted to strip it down. He wanted to get rid of Cousins. He wanted to get rid of Harrison Smith, Adam Thielen, Eric Kendricks, and he wanted to say, hey, let's get rid of all these void years. And they said, no, we don't do that around here, and that's why they brought in Kwesi. With all that said, if you didn't hit the like button, hit the like button on the way out, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't already subscribe, hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow at, I believe, 4 o'clock Central Time, 2 old bloggers over on Vikings First and SKOL I'm going to be sitting in for Darren, so I'll be sitting in with Dave. We're going to talk a lot about free agency. So come on over to that as well. Want to thank everybody who helped me get to the 1,000 mark, hit that about a month or so ago. And I know I haven't been doing as much content as I had because, again, I've been so busy at work and I had some other things in life that I've had to take care of. But I want you guys to all know that I appreciate you so very, very much. We went for an hour here today on a rando Saturday afternoon, and we're just 48 hours away. We are less than 48 hours away from the start of the legal tampering period, and that's when stuff's going to hit the fan. Thank you kindly, as always, for joining me. SKOL to the next episode. If the elevator brings you down, punch a higher floor, and we will see you when all this stuff hits the fan. Have a great rest of your afternoon and a good weekend. See you tomorrow on Vikings First and SKOL for 2 old bloggers.